Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see very important articles which appeared in our today's in the newspaper. So let's get started with our analysis guys. Before getting started, let us see the topics of the day. And today is Monday. There are like very less number of articles related to your UPSC point of view in our today's newspaper. So we are going to see at most important topics in this class. So first topic is UNS, that is United Nations Security Council reforms, no longer an option but a necessary, said by our Prime Minister at IBSA meet. So in this topic, you have to see lots of keywords. First one is you have to see what this G20 is about. Second one is what is this IBSA meet. And third one is what are this United Nations Security Council reforms. And in that you have to see again what is this G4 grouping. All these are the some important keywords which are there in this first topic, and this topic is at most important from your mains, from international relations, from GS paper 2. And next topic it is about G20 summit. So here there are lots of highlights in our today's newspaper regarding this G20 summit. And we are going to see all these highlights together in one heading guys. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under international relations. Our next topic is mind your administrative language, says Supreme Court's report. So here the Supreme Court is saying that even in judiciary also, whatever the terms are given for the staff who are working in this course, we have to mind using of that language. So here you have to see which are the words which are mainly used and why Supreme Court said this mind your language in its report. So this article is very important from GS paper 2 and a polity point of view. And next topic is there is one article regarding African grey parrot. Why it isn't used? Because actually it is illegally banned to trade this African grey parrot. But this parrot which is commonly seen in many pets shop in our country guys. So here you have to see about how this trade of this African grey parrot is happening. And this topic is very important from your GS paper 3 under environment and ecology guys. Okay, now let us see the first article. Read the title guys. UNSC reforms no longer an option but necessity. Modi at IBSA meet. Okay, let me write the keywords. First one is UNSC. What is the full form of UNSC? United Nations Security Council. And we are talking about UNSC reforms. Okay. And next here you have to see about IBSA. IBSA is nothing but India, Brazil, South Africa leaders meet. IBSA meet. In this IBSA meet, our Prime Minister, he gave the statement. Yes, UNSC, that is United Nations Security Council reforms, it is a necessity now. Okay, first of all, you have to know about what is this United Nations Security Council. And next you have to see what is the need, why we need this United Nations Security Council reforms, and what are those reforms that we want. And next there are certain groups of the countries, grouping of the country which is asking these reforms. So here you can see two important groupings guys. First one is G4 grouping, next one is Coffee Club. So G4 countries, they are fighting for these reforms, and the countries which are against this G4 are called as Coffee Club. And now we have to see about what is this IBSA, when it was formed, and why this organization IBSA formed, what are its aims and objectives. All these areas we can see. And here you may get directly prelims based question or even a mains based question from this area guys. You may get directly question in your prelims regarding this United Nations Security Council, or else you may get question regarding this G4. Already on this G4 UPSC already asked question which of the following countries are part of G4, and you may get question regarding this IBSA and its members in your prelims. But from mains point of view, you will be getting question regarding what is the need of reforms now and what are the proposed reforms, and next why India is asking to enter into this permanent membership status of UNSC. In these three areas, UPSC can ask a mains-based question, guys, and it is a very important topic which is in news from last 3 to 4 years onwards. So you may get question in your mains from contemporary topics also. That is from like 2 to 3 years, the topics which are in news on that area, they may give the questions. So from that area, this topic is the most important area. Okay, now let us see what is United Nations Security Council. As you all know that in 1945, what happened across the world? End of World War II. So this World War II led to loss of life of the people and even destroying of property, and even what happened? Hiroshima, Nagasaki bomb attack, everything, right? So because of this, across the world there was no peace, no security, and people were in fear. Like what happens tomorrow? Whether we can lead the life tomorrow or not. So there is no safety and security across the world. At that time, after the end of this World War, we came up with this United Nations. It is an international organization. And now, if you see the members of this United Nations, there are 193 members. They are part of this United Nations, guys. And now we have around 6 principal organs of United Nations. They are United Nations General Assembly. Next one is United Nations Security Council, ECOSOC, Trusteeship Council, ICJ, International Court of Justice, and United Nations Secretariat. These are the 6 principal organs of United Nations now. And what is the role of United Nations? Especially they want to maintain international peace and security. It is a primary function of United Nations Security Council. And it will also investigate regarding any dispute or any situation that might lead to any international friction. That is, if there is any issue which is going on between the countries which is causing any international friction, international conflicts, obviously we are going to investigate that kind of disputes. And next one is, it also recommends the methods of adjusting such disputes or the terms of settlements. It will be also negotiating regarding the terms of settlements. How can we negotiate the issue and how can we go for settlement of that issue? And this one is, they will also formulate the plans for establishment of a system to regulate armaments. That is, which country is having how many nuclear weapons, how many instruments regarding this atomic bombs or nuclear weapons or whatever it may be, which is causing huge harm in the future if we apply that. So regarding all these things, so these are the main roles and responsibilities of this United Nations Security Council. And you have to remember that across the world, if you want to establish the peace and security, United Nations Security plays a very important role. But we are asking for reforms. Reforms is nothing but some changes in this United Nations Security Council. If you want to understand this, why we are asking for these reforms or changes, you have to know about this membership of this United Nations Security Council. If you see this United Nations Security Council, it is having total 15 members. Out of these 15 members, 5 are permanent members. They are called as P5 countries, and other 10 countries are temporary members. For these temporary members, tenure will be like 2 years, and every year we'll go for elections. In these elections, we will select 5 members. Okay, tenure is 2 years. And the problem in this United Nations Security Council is entirely about this permanent members because they have veto power. Veto power is nothing but if any country is objecting any proposal which you are coming up with this United Nations Security Council, if even a single country in this P5 country says no, then that will be cancelled, guys. If you see across the nation, across the world, we have Russia-Ukraine crisis. Because of this Russia-Ukraine war, are we maintaining peace? Are we providing security? No. If we are passing this resolution in this United Nations Security Council, Russia is a permanent member. So Russia will say obviously no. Because of this, the resolutions against this Russia-Ukraine is not passing in this United Nations Security Council. That is the main reason we are not ending this Russia-Ukraine war. Despite US is trying very hard to stop this. But even though it is not happening because of this veto power. Now countries are asking that, yes, we have to improve this permanent members number. And not only that, across the world there is uneven distribution of membership in this United Nations Security Council. On these two areas, we need to have the reforms. And India is asking that give membership for India in this permanent member. India should be a permanent member. Okay, so these are the reforms that we are asking in this United Nations Security Council. And now let us see, wow, what is the need? Why we need this United Nations Security Council reforms? So first one is power and influence. United Nations Security Council is highest authority in United Nations system because it can impose sanctions and it can also authorize military actions and it can make the decisions binding. So because of this, we need to have the reform so that we can have membership of different countries in this United Nations Security Council. And this one is the current composition of this United Nations Security Council does not reflect the current global geopolitical reality. That means whichever the countries which are emerging, like for example Japan and India, they are not having proper representation in this UNSC. And next one is there is also under-representation of key regions. United Nations 5 permanent members, they hold veto power, and other regions like Africa, Latin America, Asia, they don't have proper adequate representation in this United Nations Security Council. Africa is having 54 nations, but Africa is not having a permanent seat representation in United Nations Security Council. Like that, we have under-representation issues. And this one is outdated veto power mechanism. Veto power allows any P5 member to block resolutions. That will lead to policy paralysis. For example, Syria issue, Ukraine crisis, they are not getting permanent solution because one country which is part of this P5, they are stopping this to pass. And even a lot of times we have the issues regarding conflicts, terrorism, humanitarian crisis, which is mainly demanding stronger United Nations response now. So because of this, we need to have some reforms. And next one here is even nowadays United Nations Security Council, it is also losing its credibility and as well as legitimacy because of this veto power which is enjoyed by P5 nations. Okay, which are the countries strongly proposing the reforms? That grouping is called as G4 countries. You have to make a note of that countries. First one is Brazil, Germany, India and Japan. India, Japan, Brazil and Germany. These are the 4 countries. They are asking for this United Nations reforms and they are aspiring to become P5 or they want to become this part of this permanent members of this United Nations Security Council. And this grouping was created way back in 2004 itself. And they are promoting United Nations Security Council reforms. Okay. And now this present statement made by our Prime Minister in one meeting of one grouping called as IBSA. IBSA is nothing but India, Brazil, South Africa. Actually, if you see about this grouping, India, Brazil, South Africa, it is one of the largest grouping of 3 large democracies and major economic countries or major economies from 3 different continents, guys. India is from Asia and we have Brazil from South America. Next we have Africa, South Africa from Africa. So from 3 countries, 3 major economies, they form this grouping, guys. And all these 3 countries are developing pluralistic, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multilingual and as well as multi-religious nations. So because of this, whenever we are forming this kind of groupings, we can address these issues of this developing multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, every area, guys. And this group was formalized and named as IBSA Dialogue Forum in 2003, guys, through this Brasilia Declaration. So these are some important things that you have to remember. And I'll be giving you the main question regarding this United Nations Security Council reforms only. So try to answer that question. Answer this article, guys. Prime Minister calls for global compact on AI to prevent misuse. This year for sure, if you are writing this 2026 mains, you will be getting for sure essay regarding AI. Because many a times this topic is there in the social media as a buzzword. And even recently government is taking lots of steps to control AI generated content as well. So you may get for sure AI related essay. AI is a boon or bane, like that. They'll give a simple statement regarding AI. So collect information regarding this AI. Try to create your own introduction regarding AI. And next, you have to say about what are the challenges, what are the advantages of AI with case studies, with data, examples, everything. For example, recently one challenge of AI is right to privacy. You know, this Gemini AI, which is mainly used for making of banana images. So for that, I gave you one case study in our ethics class and society class that one woman uploaded her pic with full sleeves, but whenever it created images, it created image of sleeveless image with even a birthmark on her hand. So because of this, there is no security and privacy that we can maintain if you are using this AI. So like that, give certain case studies for like advantages and as well as for disadvantages of using AI. And you have to see how we are controlling AI in India, not only in India, in other countries also, how they are coming up with laws and regulations to control AI. So try to make content regarding this AI, guys. If not, I say for sure you'll be getting mains question for sure. Okay, now let us see this article. So this article is talking about entirely regarding this G20 Leader Summit, and our Prime Minister, he visited this G20 Summit, and this article is about entire highlights of this G20 Summit. In your UPSC, from international relations, you will be getting questions for sure, 30 to 45 marks every year, guys. And you will be getting one question list from India and its neighborhood. That means India is sharing boundary with different countries. So with that countries, you will get one question. Second one is India bilateral, means India's relationship with US or Russia or Japan, or the countries with we are not sharing directly the boundary. And third question will be from India and its groupings. So if India participate in any of its groupings, if that is in news, if there is any controversy happened, if there is anything which is favoring India, for sure you will be getting questions. And you have to well known about that India's relations with other countries, because you are also going to apply for IFS, Indian Foreign Services. So where you have to work in Indian embassies in other countries, and you have to mediate between India and that country. So you need to know about how India is maintaining relations with other countries, and you need to know about the foreign policies of India as well. So from that point of view, UPSC will be testing your knowledge regarding India's relations with other countries, how we are maintaining, what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are the advancements that we are making up. Okay, if you say this article, why this year G20 summit is very important, because of one controversy. US boycotted this, and US also attempted to block this G20. But even though, yes, we did with this G20 summit. And second important highlight is for the first time, this G20 summit held in Africa, guys. So that is the second reason why this time this G20 summit is very important. Okay, now let us see the India's priorities and contributions for this G20 summit this year. The first one here is our Indian Prime Minister argued that whatever the current economic models they are present, they left many countries deprived of resources and caused over exploitation of nature. If you go back to modern history time, India was under rule of Britishers. At that time, these countries they exploited as much as our resources, everything from our country. It is not only history of our country. You know that British Empire never ends, never sunsets on the British Empire. Do you know this famous saying? Why? Because across the world, Britishers they had their colonies across the world. That means our sun is not going to set on this British Empire. So in that way, here our Prime Minister he remarked that this kind of exploitation happened not only in India, but even different countries, different colonies, even different small islands which were under control of this colonial powers. They exploited different countries for their own benefits, their resources, everything, guys. He said that we need to focus on thinking on redevelopment, and especially Africa remains the most affected, because now the summit held in Africa. So every nation which is participating there, they have to make a note on Africa. For that reason, our Prime Minister said that most of the countries they had been exploited, and even today Africa is in least developed status because of this history. And he said that India promoted Deen Dayal Upadhyay's integral humanism. Especially he said that India is very famous for holistic development of individuals and society. How we are going to integrate material and as well as spiritual well-being together. And he said that it will provide an alternate for in Western philosophies like individualism, secularism, and communalism. So always India is focusing on inclusive development, inclusive economy, inclusive growth. That means we always focus on holistic development of individuals and society together. But if you see Western countries' ideology, they focus on individualism, secularism, and as well as communism. It is exactly opposite to whatever the ideologies of India. And India came up with key initiatives, very, very important. First one is Global Traditional Knowledge Repository. Especially across the world, we have to save what are the traditional knowledge which is present. So for that, we are going to have a repository. So we are going to save our culture. We are going to go for eco-balanced lifestyle through that knowledge repository. And as well as G20 Africa Skills Multiplier Initiative. Under this initiative, India is going to train around 1 million Africans in skill sectors so that it will be helpful for generation of employment through this enhanced skills. Additionally, next we are going to have G20 Global Healthcare Response Team. As you all know that African countries comes under this least developed countries and they don't have proper sanitation, proper healthcare, proper basic amenities. Regarding health, India can provide healthcare response team. And as you know that during COVID-19 pandemic, every country is in need of vaccines to protect the to protect against this loss of life. At that time, developed countries, they developed their own medicines and they went for 1 dose, 2 dose, even 3 doses also. But India is the only one country which supplied this vaccines to this least developed countries. So from that time onwards, India started increasing of humanitarian aid in this African countries, and even we are increasing our bilateral relations because of this soft power of India, guys. And now we are also going to provide healthcare response team in Africa. And this one is G20 initiative of countering the drug terror nexus. And actually the problem here is fentanyl. Have you heard about this fentanyl? Fentanyl is anticoagulant drug. Actually, what is happening here is some drugs are illegally transported between India and as well as Africa. So because of this, we are going to counter this drug terrorism. And this one is we are also going to counter this drug trafficking and as well as terror financing. Especially this Africa region is famous for which desert? Sahara Desert, right? The area which is around the Sahara Desert is called as Sahel region. And this Sahel region is very much famous for terror outfits. We can see lots of terror outfits. They will be operating in the Sahel region. So because of this, India is also having threat from this Sahel region. So we want to go for countering of terrorism through terror financing, countering everything, guys. And this one is we are going to open satellite data partnership. Whenever we are going to share the satellite data, obviously it will be helpful for agriculture, fishing, disasters, everything also. And next one is we are also going to have critical mineral circulatory initiative. And under this, we are going for recycling, sustainable mining, and as well as we are going to focus on strategic minerals. And as you know that critical minerals are very important for economic development. Without these critical minerals, can we go for manufacturing of semiconductors? Can we go for manufacturing of electric vehicles, electric panels? No. So for this also we are going to have critical mineral circulatory initiative is. But there are certain challenges which are said in this article. So what are those challenges between India and Africa and as well as India and G20 are? First one is weak consensus on global conflicts. In this G20 summit, especially there is no mention of Ukraine, no mention of Gaza issue, which makes this is the one of the weakest declarations in this G20 history, guys. Because this is the burning issue which is going on, right? Russia-Ukraine crisis, Gaza issue, and recent United Nations also declared that this area got, what is that, natural calamity, genocide, everything. But if you're not talking about this kind of issues, will this kind of summits will become success? That is the first important problem which said here. And next one is debt sustainability for developing nations. We are saying that we have to go for development, advanced technology, fight against climate change. We have to ensure peace, security. Everything needs funds. Do these developing countries and least developed countries have these funds? Again, the problem here is debt is increasing in these developing and as well as least developed countries. And this one is geopolitical fragmentation is also happening, especially US, South Africa tensions are increasing and even increasing of competitiveness in the blocks. So because of this also, there is certain fragmentation is happening across the world. And this one is inequality and resource deprivation. So whatever the growth is happening across the country, it is not uniform growth, right? Some areas are developing very fast, some areas are developing very low. Because of that, there is rising of inequality between haves and have-nots, rich and poor. And even climate change is happening. This G20 also responsible for majority of emissions. But even though these are the countries just taking very less, very slow actions to fight against this climate change. Again, this is also one important problem, guys. And what is the way forward? What can be done? First one is we have to strengthen multilateral institutions. Like we have United Nations Security Council, we have Global South, we have to empower them. And second one is we have to go for sustainable development framework. Whatever the development we are focusing on, we should not compromise on this generation needs and next generation needs. So we have to go for sustainable development. And next one here is gender inclusive development. That means we should not leave this women out. We should not keep this woman out as a part of economic development. Always we should include both the gender. There should not be any gender based discrimination in policies. And this one is digital cooperation technology partnership. So different countries, they can share their technology so that we can achieve our global aim. And this one is we have to counter this terrorism. No country should show tolerance towards this terrorism. So as you all know that India adopted this zero tolerance approach. In the same way, if different countries are having this zero tolerance mechanism, we can eliminate this terrorism in the world, or else we cannot. And this one is climate action. For this, we have to promote critical minerals recycling, clean energy supply chains, and we have to increase technology. We have to increase funding actually. So all these are the way forwards which are given in this article, guys. And now let us in the next article read out the title. Mind your administrative language, says Supreme Court report. This article is very, very important. Have you ever heard these words? If you go to any government office, there are certain levels of hierarchy. Yes or no? Everywhere we have certain levels of hierarchy. And that levels of hierarchy will be called with certain names. I think you might have heard these names. Coolie, Dobi, Chaukidar. Chaukidar, I think you might have heard. Chaukidar, Coolie, cycle savar, scavenger, basta, like that. So here, not only in our different administrative government offices, even in judiciary, even in the courts also, they are using certain words for the different hierarchy of the staff members who are working in that so and so courts. So recently, Supreme Court came up with a report and said that whenever we are using certain words for administrative purpose, we should be very, very careful. Why? Because what is the role of judiciary, guys? What is the role of judiciary? It has to interpret the laws made by legislature and has to tell whether it is according to the constitution or not. And in our constitution, will it allow this discrimination? Now, because of these names which are given by this administration for the different levels, is that leading to discrimination based on caste? Who will do this work of Dobi? OBC people? Who will be doing this work of scavenger? Dalits normally. That means, can we say caste based discrimination is shown by this courts in its administrative words. Is that right? So Supreme Court only says, Supreme Court or whatever the court it says that there should not be any caste-based discrimination. But even in that administration, if they are giving this kind of words, can it ensure caste-free discrimination there? No. For that, this report is saying that mind your administrative language. So now let us see what are those words commonly used. Okay. This article is saying that the Supreme Court of India, through its Center for Research and Planning, released a report, and the title of that report is Reforming Administrative Nomenclature in the Indian Judiciary, Embedding Dignity and Equity in Service Rules. So now onwards, what are the words that we are going to use in this administrative purpose? They have to ensure dignity of the work and as well as equity in service rules. So if you see the details, it is saying that this report scrutinizes the nomenclature used for non-judicial staff roles within Indian judiciary, and they are going to identify a range of job titles that carry historical baggage from feudal, colonial and caste-based hierarchies. From history onwards, from feudal time, do you know this feudalism, feudal lords from colonial era and from caste-based hierarchies onwards, till today also in this 21st century also we are using the similar kind of words in this administration of judiciary, especially we are giving that words for non-judicial staff. Okay, and these terms often inherited from pre-independent service rules, and now we want to change them, guys. That is about this report. I'll tell you some words. Halalkar and scavenger, these are the terms historically linked to sanitation and waste management roles, which will be done by these Dalit communities, and manual scavenging. And next one is cycle sawar, referring to the messengers or delivery personals who use bicycles. And next one is dhobis, washerman or laundry workers in this courts. Coolie, a colonial era term for manual laborers, including like they will involve low skilled and exploitative work. And next one is masalchi, kitchen helpers or cooks assistants. Malan, gardeners or horticulture workers. Basta Bardhar, those who are handling the storage or inventory. Chaukidars or watchmen or security personals. Bundle lifters or nothing but staff involved in moving of documents or materials. So these are the words which are carrying this colonial historical legacy, and they are the words we got from pre-independence time, but even today after we got independence also we are using that word. So this is about this report which says that we have to change those words. And now let us see the next article. Title says state forest departments across India have no record of African grey parrot trade. Reveal RTI responses. This article is very important, and the keyword here is RTI, and second keyword is African grey parrot trade. So the image you can see here is of African grey parrot. Have you seen this parrot anywhere? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, where you have seen this? Is this parrot native of India? It is for sure not native of India. The problem here is there is no registered breeders in India. So see the problem. There are no registered breeders or authorized pet shops to sell African grey parrots. They are from Africa, guys. And in India, there is no registered breeder, and as well as there is no authorized pet shops to sell this. But it is one of the most easiest procurable animals in the country, and the bird is extensively available in pet markets. Okay, so that is a problem. So because of this, RTA was filed. What is RTI? Right to information, right? If you want to get information regarding anything, you can file RTI. You can pay just 10 rupees on online website, and you can file your RTI, and you can get information within 15 to 20 days in your hand regarding what are the questions that you asked. So the question asked here was, this bird is not allowed to trade in India, and this bird gets like extensive protection under different acts. IUCN listed under endangered category, and even CITES cited in Appendix 1. So it is getting utmost importance and protection. But even though this bird is widely available, how the trading is happening in India? Is that allowed or not? That is the RTI file. In this RTI, now the information says that there is no registered breeder and there is no authorized pet shop to sell this. Okay, that means can we say there is illegal trading of this bird is happening or not? So if you see this illegal trade route from Africa, it will goes to Asia. Especially it will come to Bangladesh, and from Bangladesh it is entering into India. So this is the illegal trade route of this African grey parrot. Why this bird is having that much craze? Any idea? Why this bird is having that much craze? Have you ever seen talking parrots? Even the YouTube also you can see our Indian green parrots will be also talking, will be speaking. Yes. In the same way, this bird is very intelligent bird, guys. So if you say about this bird, it is extremely intelligent bird in this bird species, in entire bird species. This is very intelligent. It can learn around 1,000+ words and use them meaningfully. That is the reason why they have lots of craze to keep this bird as a pet. The size is 33 centimeters. It is having grey body and it is having bright red color tail with orange eyes. It is mostly seen in Western Central Africa, guys. And if you are maintaining that bird in captivity, that means utmost protection. If you give that bird to that bird, it can live up to 50 to 60 years. But in wild, it can live up to 15 to 20 years because it is having lots of threats in the wild. It is listed under endangered category, and under sites it is protected under Appendix 1. And if you see trade in India, import for commercial purpose is completely banned. And if you want to go for legal breeding of this bird also, you need to get sites permission, and along with that you need to get state wildlife license also in India. What is the price of this bird in the open market? It is around 30,000 rupees to 60,000 rupees per bird, and it will be available in the pet shop. But pet shops need to get certification from the sites to sell this. But without this site certification, now the illegal selling and trading of this bird is happening. It is one cause of concern. And common smuggling routes are Africa to Middle East, from there to Bangladesh, Bangladesh to India. And if anyone is caught under illegal trading of this bird, there will be a strict punishments up to 7 years of jail and fine under Wildlife Act. That means we can say that there is no proper enforcement of laws are happening in India. Because of that, illegal trade of this bird is happening at a very rampant range. Okay. Yeah, so this is about this. Just see about what is this RTI, Right to Information, and when this RTI Act came into India, what are the provisions of this RTI Act, what are the challenges and what are the advantages. From this RTI also, many times UPSC asked question, and this RTI you can see in your governance topic, and even in your ethics also you have this topic of RTI in detail, guys. Okay. So these are the very important articles that appeared in our today's Hindi newspaper, guys. By this, I'm concluding. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and please do like this class and share this class. And you can follow us on our Telegram channel where we are providing PDF format of this class notes. And not only that, in our Instagram page, we are providing current affairs in shorts, prelims question with more answer, and as well as mains question with more answer as well. Don't forget that, guys. Thank you so much.